It's interesting. We are sitting here because of a referral.
I mean, and I told
Yep.
you the first time
Yep.
we talked, like, and that referral, when he said, I think I need to introduce you to Mark Hunter, I was like, the sales hunter? And he
Right.
laughs. I was like, no, I've followed him for years.
Yeah. See, so that's the power of marketing.
Yeah.
Which then makes the referral. Because otherwise you would say, I'll check the guy. I mean, yeah.
That's exactly. And I was like, oh, he just went to the top of the list. I know exactly who he is and what he stands for. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Marketing Blender Show. I'm Dacia Coffey, as you know, and today I have a special guest, Mark Hunter, the sales hunter. Now, I am super excited. You guys know I cut my teeth in sales. So sales is my second love. And Mark has a lot of really important stuff to talk about. And you're not going to want to miss what he says because there's a lot of lies out there about selling and about sales operations and even how marketing and sales is supposed to play together. So we're going to chase a whole bunch of squirrels and we're going to pick Mark's brain. And I am super, super excited. So welcome to the show.
Great. I see a squirrel going right there. There we go.
I have a feeling you will not
we
be the
are running
first.
now. Yeah, I love it.
100%. So one of the things I love about, your background is, straight into, corporate America, sales, frontline sales, and eventually your experience and success led to sales leadership and a really impressive in-house sales leadership career. And I bring that up because a lot of people listening might be like, oh, well, that makes so much sense. No, just because you're an outstanding salesperson does not predict your ability to be an outstanding sales leader because they're wildly different skill sets. And then you've even taken into trainer, which again is another different skill set. So I love that about you.
Well, thank you. It really comes down to your style of communication and your ability to truly listen because You're right. The great salesperson doesn't necessarily make the great leader. Michael Jordan, phenomenal basketball player. He tried his hand at coaching an NBA team, did not work. Larry Bird, same thing. Yeah. It is always interesting how the top sales, it is rare. And then to move from that leadership role into training role, because again, what we're doing is we're changing communication.
Yeah.
But you stop and think about it. What's marketing? What's sales? It's communication.
100%.
So
100%.
really, it's just integrating the three, but it's always about putting the other person first.
Yeah.
And that's where so many people get it wrong.
Yeah. I could not agree more. I mean, we see messaging as such a problem and like a fundamental break between sales and marketing. And it's because they're not thinking about the role of communication, right? So if you have a sales team telling marketing what the message should be, it's the tail wagging the dog, not because sales is wrong, but because they're in a different part of the buyer's journey, right? So you're guiding and you're progressing and belly to belly and you're navigating the fear that is complicit in closing a deal. And so that high emotional intelligence and your ability to react in a healthy way, that's really good for somebody. And marketing is predictive, right? So we're trying to turn strangers into friends, and friends into collaborators. And so that is a super different style in message even, because what that buyer does or does not know at that point in their journey is very different based on what they've learned because of their relationship with the salesperson. And so, they've got to work together, but you can't reverse engineer from like what the last sales conversation was.
Well, that's so true. And you dropped, it was the mic drop word, buyer's journey.
Yes.
See, this is the key thing because the buyer's journey, the buyer is the same buyer, whether they're dealing with marketing or sales. And yet for some reason, marketing feels it's one way and sales believes the other way. And it goes back to the old joke. Why do sales and marketing exist? So each one has someone else to blame when they don't hit their numbers. Okay,
right.
That's a bad joke, right?
But
we've heard
it's
that.
true.
It's true.
Exactly.
Because the buyer remains the same all the way through.
Yeah.
And this is where I think so many times marketing and sales, KPIs have to be aligned.
Yeah.
And so many times the metrics, the objectives are totally disjointed.
Yeah.
No wonder the two don't get along. And yet if we really understand, and I'm gonna pick on something here. In B2B space, the buyer's becoming smarter and smarter.
Yeah.
I mean, a buyer can find out anything they want on the internet. They really don't need us. So we have shifted in many, many areas to really having to de-educate the customer.
Completely agree. I
Whoa.
love that word because I could not agree. Like I frequently talk about it teaching, like paradigm shift or
Yeah.
reframe because typically they are driving with a core assumption about what they're buying and they're not experts at that. So that core assumption is probably wrong and they're reading the tea leaves in every touch point through an assumption that could hurt them because it was a blind spot. And I love that because you're right. I mean, that is really the highest and best use of a salesperson is really clarifying for them what real value is, what real dangers are, what real opportunities are. I love that.
Yeah. And the other piece is, are we in a space where we're converting the customer? Because they're buying from a competitor today.
Right.
Or are we educating them in a totally new category, a totally new use? Completely different marketing messaging, completely different sales messaging.
Yep.
And yet I find so many salespeople, they approach every buyer, every customer as if they're just converting them.
Yeah.
No, many times they've never been in this space before.
100%.
And I've got to change my messaging, my cadence, my process dramatically. And yet what's key is salespeople don't pick up on what marketing's giving them. Marketing is doing so much of the work for them, and yet don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Well, and if they haven't been in the same room, understanding how the message is traveling across the buyer's journey and thinking through the buyer's experience of, oh, they heard about us and then they saw an ad and they checked out our website and then they started spending a little bit more time, and they're not thinking what brought them to that meeting, then yeah. And the goal of marketing is you truly want the sales meeting to basically start in the middle of the conversation. I remember all the days of, consultative selling training, right? And it was great back in the day because we were afforded the time where a buyer would legitimately give you an hour to ask questions. Can you even imagine that now?
I'm sorry, that does
not exist.
Does not happen.
No, exactly. So you have to assume the questions and some of the answers and then test assumptions. In my opinion, you're the expert, but you've got to be capable of starting in the middle with the person because you knew, their context coming into the room. So, and then you're driving really exciting value instead of a buyer being like, okay, let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah. And yet so many salespeople still approach it as if they're educating the customer from start.
That's right.
Years ago, I remember I would invite salespeople. I have a meeting with a salesperson. Why? Because I want to understand what they're selling. I want to understand because I may have to tell the owner. I may have to tell the CEO. I work for a publicly traded company. I may have to tell the CEO what's going on. So I'm going to use the salesperson. Those days are gone.
Yeah.
We are now in what I call 3D selling.
Yeah.
3-dimension selling. What this means is that nobody is willing to talk to any salesperson until they've seen you or your company in 3 different ways.
Yeah.
This makes the marketing message that much more important.
Yeah.
Because, okay, have I seen you from some videos or some social media message? Have I seen you from some social media posts? Have I seen you at a trade conference, a trade show? I've got to see you in 3 different ways.
Yeah.
And the ultimate one is I'm going to Google you personally before I allow you to be on my calendar. I am not going to put anybody on my calendar until I know, who is this person?
Exactly.
Do they qualify?
Exactly.
So it's 3D selling. This is what we and again, this increases the role of marketing.
Yep.
That much more important.
100%. I mean, I think marketing should be accountable for filling the sales pipeline. Now, an interesting thing about that, in one of the tiny, dangerous little misses that I find all the time is what's the definition of a lead? And what is the mechanism on the sales operation side or the marketing technology, because they're supposed to be the same, like the handoff's supposed to be the same. And is everybody in agreement with the definition of that lead and how we nurture them and the definition of qualified and how we get meetings or what meetings we take? Because sometimes it ends up being a 5-minute fix, but a 5-month, like, where's the real problem? Where's the real problem? And it might distill down to, oh my gosh, because marketing, this is what you hear so frequently, marketing is working. You guys, look at all the metrics. We can see it. We're reaching the target market. We can see the companies that we can see that we're hitting the right decision makers. We can see they're engaging with the content. We can see they're not scared of, connecting with us. And then they're like, all marketing does is send us garbage. Right. And so then like there's lead lists in the CRM that are quote unquote not being worked, but it's because the salesperson at some point in time wasted so much time going through what they consider garbage leads. Oh my goodness.
Well, this comes back to aligning KPIs.
Yes.
And let's break this down. First of all, if we were to sit here and try to define leads, we would not be out of this room for at least 24 hours.
And it's custom to a specific company.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That is what's key.
Yes.
It is custom to the company. It is custom. Actually, it's custom to the ICP, the ideal customer profile.
Exactly.
The avatar that they're going for, et cetera. So here's the deal. We have MQL, marketing qualified leads, and we have SQL, sales qualified leads. There's nothing wrong with that. But here's what I look at. And so many times marketing teams will have a KPI of how many people hit their website, how many people attend this webinar, how many people download.
Yeah.
And they feel just because they downloaded an ebook that they're a marketing qualified lead. No, they could be unemployed and they're looking for work.
So true.
And
could be a competitor.
Right.
So true.
This is where you have to go through a scoring system. And, can I backtrack and say, wait a minute, this person's using a Gmail. How do I know this person is with a company? Can I associate this name to an actual person? Again, AI is giving us tremendous amount of tools that we can do this. So
yes.
That's all cool. 2, what is the buyer intent? Is there intent? I mean, is there just information downloading, participating in a webinar, or is there something? Now, here's the situation. If I have somebody who downloads an ebook, we'll just use a very basic, easy, simple. Somebody, marketing puts something out there and you gravitate towards it. And they come back and they look at it a second time and they look at it a third time. Oh, they visit the website. So there's different, 5 or 6, okay, that feels good. Now, through AI, I can see that, wait a minute, they're in a business that lines up with our avatar,
exactly.
our ICP.
Exactly.
Okay. That has now jumped the shark, and that is a marketing qualified lead that sales had better jump on pretty quickly. This is the big problem I find. The MQLs come across, and sales looks at them. Well, there's so many of them, I don't have time to get to them.
That's right.
So they never get to them.
That's right.
Speed is of the essence more than ever.
Agreed.
Because if I've got an itch, I want it taken care of quickly.
Yeah.
If it's 3 days later and you finally scratch my itch, you're stalking me. That's weird. That's I'm sorry. That's creepy. It's not stalking. It's not creepy. If you reach out 10 minutes later, it is not. Because you know what? The marketplace now expects that.
Yeah.
Because if you wait, sales. I'm preaching to salespeople right here. If you wait to reach out, well, I don't want to feel like no. You need to. Because otherwise, you know what happens? They're going to wind up going to somebody else.
Yes.
They're going to wind up trying somebody else. Or they've just, the idea is passed.
Exactly.
The idea is just, you know what? I'm on to some other project and I can't even remember it.
Exactly. That hidden paradigm around I don't want to be salesy, which is ironic because salespeople feel like that. So,
where did we lose?
Exactly.
Right?
And, I am such a proponent that amazing salespeople are true servant leaders. Because let's think about this. No one hits your website hoping for it to be garbage and to not want to find any good information to make progress. Like they literally arrived there thinking, I've got a problem or I've got a goal and I'm researching something that's going to help me achieve what I need to achieve. And so a salesperson is then a guide, a partner in progress is kind of the phrase that I love to use. And that's exciting. That person, that buyer, pre-decided to decide. Like they were like, there's the line in the sand. I'm done with this problem, or I'm done not achieving the goal, or I'm done not understanding this, and we've got to get ahead of it. They're excited. They want progress. And so then to be like, oh, I don't want to bother them, or I don't want to be weird, or I don't want to stalk them. So inappropriate because that's not what the buyer is thinking. And even getting ghosted, it's usually not because they don't like you. It's usually because they're so busy and they haven't returned back to the prioritization that they had decided to make this a priority. And then a salesperson says, you decided this was a priority. Has anything changed? That is servant leadership at its finest because you're helping them go past the hurdles that they have to do in order to be on the other side of that problem that they're facing. And so I'm always like, no, because timeliness is so right, because you're meeting them when they really actually wanted a guide. And you just went, no, I don't want to bother you. Oh, so frustrating.
Okay, there is so much of what you said there that I want to unpack. I want to talk about ghosting, but I want to come back and say what my definition of sales is. My definition of sales is helping others see and achieve what they didn't think was possible.
Yes.
Let's not think about that.
Yes.
That's my definition of
So
leadership.
good.
That's my definition of leadership.
Yeah.
It's helping others see and achieve what they didn't think was possible. Here's the thing. Salespeople, we got to get over this. Got to get over this and realize that you're helping people, because my definition of prospecting is if I have a solution for you, if I have a way to help you, I have an obligation to reach out to you. And
Agreed.
the example I love to use is if I have a problem, trust me, you could ask my kids, they would tell me, Dad has a lot of problems. And if I knew that you could help me, I would want you reaching out to me.
Yes.
I would want, and if I found out later that you could have helped me, but you didn't reach out to me, I'd be disappointed.
Yeah.
See, we are doing our customers a favor when we reach out to them.
Yeah.
Speed is of the essence, because my kids would say, got to help Dad get rid of his problems because they're killing us,
Exactly. And if you've built some sort of online presence, organizationally and personally, especially where you have a personal brand and your own professional integrity, and you reach out and they'd seen you on social media and they'd seen your face and they've accidentally engaged with you through different touch points, you call, they're like, oh, Mark, you're the one that called. Like, hey, it's cool to talk to you. Because there's already familiarity. So they literally have already built a relationship with a person that has visibility online, because they're like, oh, I get this guy. Like, I know where he's coming from. Like, oh, I've heard his point of view. And when you show up, they're like, oh my God, it's been my guy the whole time. Like, it's not this weird thing. That's why social selling, if you will, and like individuals participating in social media, participating in the marketing activity is so beneficial, because there's this dual halo effect back and forth that then invites the buyer to pre-believe that you're going to help them.
Oh, wow. Oh, you've said so many more things, and I want to pick up on social selling, but I want to talk.
I know, I'm sorry. I'm just
No.
Squirrel.
I love squirrel. I love squirrel. I love squirrel. I want to go back to ghosting, because this is where marketing plays a key role.
Huge. Yep.
It is not unusual to be ghosted. And you're right, because the customer's busy. I just closed a major, one of the largest deals I've ever closed in my company. You can go into my CRM system, 46 touches over the course of 18 months.
100%, not unusual.
Yeah, not unusual.
Not.
And follow up.
Yep.
And it was because when I finally was able to do business with the VP, she made the comment, she said, man, I've just been so busy, but I've been getting all your messages. In fact, we closed the deal in less than 3 weeks.
Because once it became priority.
Once it became a priority. And she said, you know what's interesting? Is I learned all about you and your company, because over the last 18 months, you've been sending me really good stuff.
Yeah.
You haven't been messaging, hi, buy for me. No. I've been delivering value. And this is, marketing has a key role in that value messaging.
Yes.
And this again comes back to the role of marketing and really social selling and so forth. Side note real quick, social selling. We got to remember that the word social comes ahead of selling. So
Thank you.
We create the relationship? Can we create, because that just...
Social media is social.
Yeah. It's not connect and pitch. Let me connect with you on LinkedIn. And oh, by the way, let me go ahead and sell you this. Oh, please. You're out of here.
100%.
Anyway, okay. I'm sorry. That was a side squirrel.
I love it.
Squirrels
that was a good
are just
one.
running around all
Rampant.
over the place here.
Exactly.
Here's the situation. I have got to make sure that my messaging is tight and only in my space.
Yeah.
We're not Coca-Cola.
No.
I can't afford to put billboards on streets. I'm not Starbucks. I'm not Apple's. I'm a B2B business in this space. That is where 100% of my messaging, 100% of everything I do has to be in that space.
Yes.
And that and this comes back to this whole issue that so many times you see this, I'm sure a lot of companies, they don't really know what space they're in. They really don't know what sandbox to play in.
That's right. 100%.
And it's not just about throwing something out.
It's the number one problem that drains marketing return on investment
Yes.
and creates frustration. Number one. Are you a CEO of a business-to-business company? Maybe you're a sales leader or a salesperson, or maybe you're in business-to-business marketing. Well, if so, I wrote a book for you, and it's called Corporate Caffeine. Business-to-business marketing is different, but there are certain predictable fundamental principles that will help you unleash your organizational potential and fill your pipeline sustainably. So you can find my book on Audible, on Amazon, on barnesandnoble.com, or any of your favorite retailers. Hope you enjoy it, and I'd love to hear your feedback.
When I walked in here this morning, one of the first questions I asked you was, who's your audience?
Exactly.
Who's your avatar?
Exactly.
And we had a great conversation on that. The tighter we define our avatar, the tighter we define who our target market is, I call it ICP, or ideal customer profile,
Yep.
the more efficient our marketing spend is.
Yep.
The more efficient our sales calls are.
Yep.
We shorten the sales cycle. Everything, the sun, the moon, the stars begin to line up, and life's pretty good.
Exactly. And, I love what you're saying, because there's a parallel path there. So not only is a shorter sales cycle healthier for your company, it's healthier for the buyer. It's buying efficiency. There is not just speed to revenue for you, there's speed to success for them. Like, it behooves you both to design a sales process that is lickety split as it gets for both parties, because nobody wants to be embroiled in this long back and forth, because long back and forth, all it does is create more fear, more confusion, more questions that don't serve anyone. So an inefficient sales cycle is so dangerous.
Can I share with you? I was working with a company one time, and they were having a sales issue and so forth. And their marketing was great, but their sales, they had like 18 steps in their sales process. No wonder they're not closing any deals. 18. Yeah, 18. Yeah.
Steps.
Steps. Can we say that we can screw up a 2-car funeral pretty good? I mean, that's exactly what that company was doing. And it was all, and it just creeped in. This is the problem that salespeople have, and sales leaders have, and CEOs and owners of businesses have, is that they see something's not quite working right in the sales process.
Yeah.
So let's add this. Let's add this. And they didn't get to 18 overnight. It just slowly but surely happened.
Yeah.
And then what happened? Then you wake up and you realize nothing's happening, because what's happening is people are busy, but they're not productive. My whole objective with a sales pipeline is, I look at so many sales pipelines, and they're sewer pipes, because there's so many. There are so many leads in there. There are so many suspects in there that you can't find the prospect.
Exactly.
Because a lead that's not qualified is a suspect. Okay.
100%.
So anyway,
yes.
And what I want to do is, I don't want to. My pipeline, I don't want it to be a sewer pipe. I want it to be a water tap.
Yeah.
Where it just comes through quickly. In other words, I want to be able to, as a salesperson, spend more time with fewer prospects.
Completely.
Because now what I can do is I can understand their value.
Exactly.
Their need.
Exactly.
And I can create a value proposition, and I can ultimately close them faster.
Exactly. That 18 steps, like, immediately what I think is that is a company that, you're right, has not narrowed their focus and their message, and is so in love with every single random way that they are better, faster, cheaper, that they don't want to let go of any of it in service to the customer. So they're thinking too much about what they want to say and less about what progresses the buyer towards their definition of success. And so, yes, I mean, it's so rewarding to calm down, because one of my biggest initiatives around, like, what I want to teach people with marketing is, it's not about you. The fastest way to turn around your marketing in the next calendar year is to stop talking about yourself. Stop talking. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. So what are they trying to solve? Where are they? What can you teach them about being smarter or less, or less risky or anything? And when you start meeting that's the definition of specialization. And I think so many of us came up in a time where specialization really was features and benefits. It really was product innovation. I worked for companies like that where we really were better, and it was really easy as long as you weren't foolish or stupid to sell because it was truly better. We do not live in that world anymore. That is almost impossible to find yourself where people are active listeners and there's nothing there to serve them in integrity. So now specialization is, do you specialize in the humans from cradle to grave? Like, it's not just about your product or service delivery. It is literally, have you architected an experience that is value creating at every single step? And guess what? People want to buy from companies like that, and they want to do it quickly because you're not scary and you're already benefiting them. And it's so rewarding as a salesperson or a marketer to get out of the bed in the morning and being like, that's what we're doing for our market and our humans that we're serving. Like, that's so satisfying culturally.
I love it. Ding, ding, ding. You win the prize also because you use the word emotional. I love it. I love it. Now, here's why. I believe that in sales, we have to create an emotional experience with our customer.
Yeah.
People say, well, that doesn't apply to B2B. Oh, it does apply to B2B.
Oh,
it
more
does.
than anything.
More than anything.
Agreed.
And I think the faster that marketing and sales gets on the same page of saying, we have to create this emotional experience because knowledge is becoming table stakes out there.
Yeah.
I mean, AI is, I think it's here to stay. I mean, it's not going away. And every day it gets smarter and smarter, which is really spooky because I made the upper half of my class possible. But okay, if some of you listeners don't understand that, you were with me in that class. Okay. Emotional experience. We have to create an emotional experience at every step along the way. And this is why when you made the comment that nobody really cares. Well, we've been in business since 1948. We have 3 locations around the country. Look at pictures of our buildings.
Yeah.
The capabilities presentation died. The 80s are calling. They want that presentation back, please. We need to focus on the outcomes.
Yes.
Features and benefits. That's
so old.
That's so 70s.
And people still train that, and
they
think
still train
like
that.
Yeah.
My whole goal is to focus on the outcomes.
Yes.
Focus on the outcome. You know what's funny is I have found this. I have seen top performing salespeople crushing it selling inferior products. Now think about this, because at the end of the day, what I'm selling is the solution, not the product.
Not the product. 100%.
My messaging needs to prepare the customer for the solution I'm going to help them with.
100%. And it's so interesting because marketing is, like you said, simply communication. Marketing analytics are buyer behavior markers. Literally, those numbers are telling you what the market values, what they're curious about, what they bounce off of. And that's so healthy if you can redirect it back into decision-making criteria, even around product or presentation, because more is not always better. So that's such a great point around, like, a lesser product can still be wildly successful because the core criteria was that customer in the center, not what you think they need or what you want to talk about.
Yeah, and okay, I got to get this one on the table because every salesperson will sit there and say, as a company, we could sell a lot more if we just reduced our price. If we just reduced
it's not true. It's not true.
It's not true at all. And I go, excuse me. Have you ever thought it's maybe your sales process? Maybe your sales process stinks? There's a novel idea.
We had a client a year ago, and we quadrupled the price of her product, and she sold 4 times more than she ever had. And the reason is because price is an indication of value. And there is a possibility that when you race to the bottom, you teach them that you are a bottom feeder. That is not the marketing message that you want to put out there because you made foolish decisions thinking about the easy way to win. That's because it's not true. Most of our clients, I probably speak for you as well, are not like positioned around pricing, but around superiority, which means they're more expensive, and marketing and talented salespeople can help win. It's never about price.
It's never about price. Marketing and sales does themselves a favor when you take price completely out of the equation.
Agreed.
Price only comes into play after I understand the true need, the true pain, the true issue that the customer has. And oh, by the way, the customer, because I don't look at them as buying anything. They're not buying. They're investing.
Yes.
They're investing. And they're looking for a return on their investment to solve a problem or to create a gain. we all, plenty of studies have shown that people will always pay more, invest more to solve a pain than they will for a gain.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is basic. But I want to come back to something you said, marketing analytics. This is so interesting. Marketing always deals in large numbers.
Yep.
Because again, they have just a larger pool of which to work from. And I get so upset when salespeople start, oh, that's wrong, that's wrong. Hold it. Your sales sample is 6 customers. Their marketing analytics is 18,000 or 20.
Yeah.
Your sales numbers are not statistically viable.
No, that's
Hello.
such a good
Hello.
point. That's
Something's
such a good
wrong.
point.
Something's wrong with this one, okay?
Yes.
I mean, salespeople live in this bubble. And it is so interesting. But I did a stint in marketing for several years.
Yeah.
And I remember because marketing, national brands, national responsibility. And I'd meet with salespeople around the country. And in this region, they felt this was the issue. This region, they felt this. And they always felt I was stupid. No, it's because you're looking at it through your little tiny lens.
Yeah.
This is not the big picture.
Yeah.
And we have to understand, again, what is the role of marketing? So much of marketing is to create awareness and educate the customer, to prepare that person to be handed off to you.
Yep.
It's not up to them to close the deal. If it's up to marketing to close the deal, hey, salespeople,
You're
we
fired.
don't need you. You're out of here.
100%. Like,
Yeah.
it's a fundamentally different business model if you want marketing to take it across the finish line, and you better be real careful with that.
And you'll never maximize revenue or the relationship.
Yep.
Because here's the whole thing. I'm going to kind of weave in a couple things here. Low price is not a sustainable competitive advantage, period.
Exactly.
And yet, if we move to a total web transaction, what happens? I mean, look at airline.
Price.
Look at airline. It is truly a low. People look at low price. Okay?
Yep.
Product service comes into play a little bit. But here's something interesting regarding airline pricing. A typical flight, there are going to be people on that flight who have paid 7, 8, 9 different price points. And there may be Gramp and Grandma sitting in the back of the plane, and they paid $200 for a ticket because they're going to see their grandkids, and they could fly any day. So they're going to look for the absolute cheapest.
Yep.
Up in first class, there's an individual who maybe paid $2,000 and thinks it's a bargain because that person's got to get from X city to X city to close a multi-million-dollar deal and get back in time for X.
Yep.
This whole thing. Salespeople, marketing, we have to realize value is not what we perceive it to be.
That's right.
Value is what the customer believes it to be.
That's
and
right.
that is so key.
Value is defined by the customer. Absolutely. And I find one other thing that companies have a tendency to abdicate the responsibility and possibility of sales and marketing is the customer journey after the first invoice. If you want to scale revenue, you cross-sell and upsell and elongate the life cycle with your customers. You want to get more ROI? Drive up the value from the clients that already know you, love you, and trust you. And there's so much wealth, but I see so frequently, not just marketing, which is more common, but both sales and marketing have a tendency to be pigeonholed in a very specific, predetermined place around net new or whatever it is, even account management. Like, you see so many missed opportunities of not weaving the customer experience together with what marketing knows or what the best hunters, sales hunters and closers know. And they brought value. That paradigm should be informing every aspect of delivery. And it's crazy when it just gets dumped over in a totally different place, separate from why the customer decided to believe you.
There's so much I can say there. Here's the whole thing. First of all, we got to get rid of the term closing the sale. Seriously, let's get rid.
I love this.
It's opening the relationship.
Yes.
I want to open the relationship.
Oh, I love this, Mark. I'm so stealing this.
I want marketing messaging to continue after I gain that first sale. You're right, because what happens is so many times the salesperson closes the deal and then it gets handed off to customer success.
Yeah.
And customer success. And the salesperson never hears from that person again.
Yep.
Like, wow, we leave so much revenue on the table and then we go back out to hunt. We're going to go hunt the next
That's
deal.
right.
When there was so much more revenue right there to be had. And it's not just revenue, but it's satisfying and helping the customer.
Exactly.
And, oh, by the way, that leads us to another thing of whole referrals. That I mean, we leave so many opportunities on the table. We could go on for hours talking my referral strategy, but here's the whole thing.
Strategy.
Yeah.
Yes.
If any organization is not gaining over time more revenue through referrals and repeat, then something's either wrong with their product or their process.
Yeah.
One of the two. But by and large, every company's there because that's the only way you stay in business. And isn't a referral generally an easier way to gain a new customer?
Always a faster sales cycle.
That's a novel idea. I think so. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's what let's get rid of closing the deal,
I love that.
opening the relationship, and play with everybody.
All right, you guys, that's what we've got for today. Stay tuned for part 2. We go even deeper. So see you next week. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you get the notification. Onward and upward.